Um, Hello, viewers. Welcome to our today episode. We are discussing how you can come up with you can identify a good research topic, and you know that with the world of possibilities out there, choosing a research topic can be a daunting task. It can be a challenge to a student or a scholar. And selecting a good concept in your area of specialization is half the battle when it comes to producing variable research, original research. You ought to take some time to attentively brainstorm possibilities and refine them down into a solid, focused research problem. Brainstorm general topics that genuinely interest you. So the area of your study should be very interesting to you. It should be an area that you have a lot of confidence that you understand the concept and you can research further as a scholar. And therefore, when you are choosing your own direction for original research within your field of specialization, your experience will be very meaningful if you pick a subject that you like. You need to consider writing down all the possibilities that occur when you have a generous list of options to start from. So you need to first and foremost generate a list of possible topics in the areas that interest you. And then you'll pick a subject to which you have a personal connection. Once you have done that, you need to select your top choices from the list that you have created to pursue them further. Do some background reading on each in general relevance to see what contextual and online sources are available in relation to each potential topic. So it means that you need to do some reading. You need to do preliminary reading in those areas so that you get to know the information or the knowledge that have been generated by scholars in that area. After you have done that, you need to select one to focus on that you find the most interesting and that has sufficient resources to investigate. So once you are looking for a research topic, you need to ensure that there is sufficient resources. There is sufficient information that is available. It may not be too wide, and also let it not be too literal, so that you are able to look for citations, because you need to ground your research from what has been done by other scholars, and therefore citation will help in identifying those areas and also confirming with other scholars and citing their work so that you can prove that that work has been done and the result has been showing a certain trend. You also need to choose a topic that has some but not too much information available to it. It means that if it has too much information, other scholars have really researched on that area, and you may not have a lot of contribution. You may not have suitable contribution to what has been done before, because their is too much information, meaning that a lot of work has been done by other scholars, and therefore you may not be reinventing a wheel on what has been done by other scholars. A topic has to fall within your area of specialization. So if you're doing marketing, for instance, you need to ensure that the concept that you are researching about is in the area of marketing, or it is related. It can be applied. The same case applies to any other area of specialization. A topic has to be interesting to you as a researcher, because for you to have the drive, you need to have some interest in that area, given the fact that it is an area that maybe you understand very well, or is an area that you have already identified that is a possible area for further research. The topic also ought to be interesting to other readers, your supervisors, and also the general public will be looking for material or looking for that research in various platforms. They ought to be interested to look and to read through, because the topic that you have picked is interesting even to readers, and that also make it possible for you to publish in higher tier journals. A good topic also ought to address an area of concern. What is the problem? What is the research problem? So there ought to either be a practical problem, or there ought to be an academic gap. What academic gap is there that you have identified or has been identified by other scholars, and they have proposed that area for further studies? There have to be at least two types of variables. Whenever you are looking for a topic, you need to see a relationship, because a research ought to discuss a phenomenon that has a relationship. So there ought to be at least independent and dependent variables in it. There could be other variables like intervening variable or moderating variables. But for a starter, you need to ensure that you at least have the independent and the dependent variable. There ought to be a relationship, that's what we have said, between the two variables. Ensure that there could be a causation. Maybe A causes B to to behave in a certain way. That is the relationship we are talking about. The topic should not be too wide in scope. To depend on the area of your study, whether you are doing, for instance, bachelor or master's or PhD level or even postdoc. So the topic should be related to the scope that you want to study. So if it's just a bachelor, you may need to limit your scope as much as possible, because you may be having limited time and resources to carry out that research. Ensure that you can study it within your timelines and the budget that you have. So that if you only have 4 months to do that study, ensure that that area can be covered within that time, and you'll be able to generate results that you are going to analyze and provide the results. The topic should not be too long in the number of words. That also will depend on the guidelines for your study. So it is important that you look at the guidelines so that you stick to the letter. The guidelines from your school or the organization that is financing your study. A topic should cover the entire study. So ensure that when you are phrasing your topic, everything is included. The entire study is included in that topic, so that if there is a moderating variable, it is also captured. The two variables, the independent and dependent variables, are also captured in your topic. So any so that is very important. You should be able to understand what the entire study is all about. When you look at the topic, anyone that is looking at your topic should be able to grasp what the candidate is studying. What is the study about? Also consider starting broad and narrow your focus. Once you have a general topic that interests you, begin by reading widely about that area. You can consider using convex approach, whereby you start from the global perspective, looking at work that have been done globally. So you could be citing any study that have been done in any part of the world. Then you can come to the regional perspective. In your region, who are the scholars who have looked at that, who have studied that area, and what have they found out? So you needed to now come to the regional and zero into the country or the region or the area where you are doing that study. So if you are doing it in a particular country, now you can focus on the studies that have been done in that nation. So write down the ideas, the informations and sources that interest you the most. Then you can review your notes to start refining your topic into a precise, narrow research focus. It is also important that you consult the relevant scholars or your supervisor whenever you are deciding on the topic of your study. So vet your ideas within an established academic or profession that is related to the field in which you'll be conducting your research. And in case you have challenges deciding among the topics or narrowing your scope, you need to seek advice. You need to get suggestion from your supervisors or advisors or any other knowledgeable professional in that area. Consider also explaining the research that you have already conducted to show your supervisor or your whoever is guiding you that you have already done your homework. So don't go to your supervisor to guide you, yet you have not done any background research. You need to have look at that area so that you, your supervisor or the scholar who is guiding you will just direct you into the path that you need to take. So the supervisors or the scholar who are guiding you, they may be able to point to you in a more specific direction or a more specific direction based on your general interest. But you should not expect them to do the whole selection process for you. Ensure that you have done your part by doing exploratory study or background check to ensure that the area that you are studying has a research gap or there is a practical problem. Now, when it comes to formulating your research questions, what you are doing when you are formulating research questions is to break your topic into smaller areas that you'll be able to focus on and carry out your study. So you'll be coming up with research questions and specific objectives, and they should fall within that topic. So don't come up with questions that are not within the area, the topic that you're studying. So your research should be seeking to answer some particular questions. And ideally, one that has not been asked before, consider area that has not been asked before, or one that has not yet been satisfactorily been answered. So you may find that the other scholars who did almost the same thing, but you may find some weaknesses in their studies, and you need to identify those weaknesses and tell the public what you have done that is different from what was done by those scholars that tackled the same area, and maybe they looked at a narrow scope. Maybe they did a case study. You want to do a survey of a larger sample, and that way your study will be an improvement on what has been done before. Or it could be the context. Maybe some study was done in Brazil, you are in Uganda, or in Kenya, or whichever other country. You may need to do that study within your context to identify any difference, whether the same case applies to that particular national context. You needed to devise a question that could address the missing information. What is the missing link? What is the missing information? Or what is the research gap? So you ought to be able to stipulate that in your research questions and in your specific objectives. Explore the relationship between the idea or ideas, the concepts, phenomena, or event that can come up in your research, but whose relationship has not been fully investigated. Alternatively, you can consider how an existing methodology or concept applies to a new specific context or a case study, for that matter. The research questions should be manageable. Whenever you are coming up with a research question or specific objectives, they should be manageable in the sense that it should be narrow enough that you are able to answer it within the timelines that you have, but not too narrow that you can't fulfill maybe the research requirement, like the how many pages are you supposed to generate in that research. For instance, if you're supposed to write a number, give a number of words, if you are too narrow, then you may fall short of that. So you need to consider all that when you are coming up with when you are formulating your research questions. Again, if your questions are not narrow enough, you can define your focus further by limiting your topic according to a given theoretical approach, or probably the geographical region, the demographic or culture, the industry, or the field that you are studying. After you have done that, you can settle on a question or questions that matter to you, or one that have real stake in what has in that it has some direct or real life application. Some problems you can see that there is a real life problem in the field, and that is an area that you can do a study. It could also be an academic gap. For instance, scholars has developed many theories. Some theories can be critiqued, meaning that some theory you may find that you may start critiquing a theory. Does it apply in the real life situation? And you may want to do a study to fill a certain research gap. So real life application, or it could be real life application, or make it, you can make it to be an original contribution to your area, to the area of specialization, or to your field of study. You also need to plan your research. Research is a project, and every project needs to be planned. Otherwise, you find that you may have proceeded on with your project just to realize that you omitted certain things. So to avoid that, you need to plan your research. And you can do that by ensuring that you are following the guidelines that have been recommended by your institution or your school. And having settled on a question or questions, you ought to confirm that your research topic meets with all the requirements that you are trying to address, whether they are for a class assignment or whether you are doing a research project for a bachelor or a thesis, or you are writing, for instance, a proposal for a grant that you want to that would lead you to enabling you to study a certain phenomenon. Therefore, it is important that you create a research plan. And you need to take some time to have a detailed strategy on how and when you do the necessary research. Come with the timeline. You can use any tool to come with the timelines so that you know at each point in time what you will be doing. And you can start by listing the various research materials that you will use. Could be, for instance, the literature review, the interview, guide, quantitative analysis, and so on and so forth. You will also need to create a timeline for when you'll be doing each kind of research, being sure to leave enough time for yourself to complete the writing, because you need to analyze your data. You need also to write the results, and you are now compiling and the time for compiling the results. So build a research outline. You need to come up with a research outline, and you can do that with the consultation of your advisors or your researchers. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a well-identified topic makes the research process very easy. And it also ensures that you will not have a hiccup when you have progressed, and you'll be able to know that you have a smooth process. Ensure that you have a relationship. Your topic or your study is discussing a causation or a relationship between independent variable A and dependent variable B. And if there are any other variables that are involved, for instance, intervening variable, moderating variable, or control variable, you need to be able to identify them, and you mention them in advance, even in your topic. Identify a research gap. Ensure that your study is trying to address a research gap, or it is trying to get the cause of a certain phenomenon that is happening in the market. In the market. Take for instance, certain maybe high school student maybe causing maybe they have been unrest in high school. In many high schools, you may need to identify what is the cause. What is causing it? Is it the management of the school that are not addressing the concern of students, or what is the cause of the problem? That's an example of a practical problem that you could be trying to address. Or there is a surge of a certain disease. What is happening? You may need to establish what is happening, what is causing the upsurge of a certain ailment. you may want to, it's a practical problem you can consider maybe studying. So articulate clearly the research gap. You need to do that so that everybody can see that your work is different from any other scholar who may have tackled the same area or similar area. We need to know how your work is different from any other scholar who have done a similar work, because you cannot be doing exactly the same thing that another scholar did. You need to differentiate your work, identify the scope of your study. And once you have done that, you'll be able to carry out your research in a good way. Thank you very much for listening. You can consider clicking the like button and also subscribe, because you are in the pipeline. We have so many topics that we have lined for you. Thank you and God bless.